I don't know if it was Benjamin Franklin who said the early bird gets the worm. He had a lot of those great sayings, and I don't know if any of them hold water. And in this case, I don't know what the early bird gets unless it's the smell of diesel, gasoline, and so on. But this is an afternoon. The sun is trying to come out. It's been a relatively cloudy July 9th, 2004 at the Clinton County Fairgrounds. And we're here just prior to the opening of an annual event that really means something to those people who are interested in antique gas engines and tractors. It's an event that I haven't personally covered before. Calvin's been here in the past before. And we're hoping before we finish this event today to see our good friend, I haven't met him, but Calvin has, OZZIE SWEET, one of the world's most famous magazine cover photographers. You may never have heard his name unless you watch Hometown Cable or read the Press Republican, which has done articles on him in the past, but he's responsible for the photographs you may or may not have seen on between 17 and 1800 magazine covers since 1942. That's a lot of clicking and snapping and developing, believe me, he is a master. So we hope to meet Oscar OZZIE SWEET from New Russia, New York, and who knows where else before we finish today. We were in Clarence Baker's yard a couple of years ago, maybe almost 3 years ago now, Calvin, and we saw this machine, and we talked a lot to Clarence about old tractors and old engines, and this was one of them. It looks like it might even run these days, so we'll talk about that. This event is actually planned for what would be in straight line time Saturday and Sunday, I believe, the 10th and the 11th of July 2004, but we thought we'd get here and give our Hometown Cable viewers a little preview of what it's all about. And little kids will want to gather around the TV because they love tractors and they love gasoline engines. And big kids, the operable word there is big kids like Calvin and me, we like to see them too. And stick with us for the next hour, hour and a half, and I think you'll find something for everyone on Hometown Cable in our little corner. Well, maybe, just maybe, you're going to get a sneak preview of what this old engine looks like when it's running. First thing we had to do is use a modern air compressor to blow up one of those little tires that you see there. Secondly, get those big wheels turning. Look at that huge piston that goes around. I have no idea how old that gasoline engine is, but maybe we get a chance to talk to Fran, who I'm sure has a few things to say about it. We'll get an inkling as to how difficult it was to restore it. As you know, many of these engines are so old that parts aren't made anymore. That goes without saying, so you gotta make them in a workshop somewhere, or get a machinist to put them together for you, or go to a company that does machine tools and parts. And it's a real passion for some of these people. And those of you who are senior citizens like myself may get a kick out of some of the engines you see during this event. This is in the year 2004. You'll probably be seeing this show for the first time sometime later in 2004, perhaps in the early fall. So it's kind of a kick to see it happen. I can remember those giant behemoth steam tractors that they used to use for combining were still around when I was a little boy in the 1940s, and believe me, they were tremendous. It's like putting a locomotive out into the field to do your work. And when the gasoline engines came around and they were powerful enough to do the job, then gasoline tractors, of course, replaced them, and then the fabulous huge diesel tractors that you see today. So we'll look around a little bit today, and as we do, you'll see what these old gas engines and tractors look like through the eyes of the Hometown Cable camera. Well, we got to have at least one of the masterminds behind this behemoth machine behind me, and he's Fran Bushy. He may not admit that he's a mastermind, but how you doing, buddy?
Good, Gordy, good.
We lost Clarence. I know he's your next door neighbor. He's going to be back with us. What are you an officer of this club?
I am the president at this time.
Where's the fanfare when we need it? This is a fun event. Isn't it, every year?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work getting ready for it, but there's a lot of enthusiasm in the club. A lot of people do come forward and help for the two-day event.
The last time we saw this machine, there weren't very many pieces on it. It was sitting in the yard a long time ago when we went up to do a TV show with Clarence. And now at least you got it turning and moving, and the pistons coming back and forth.
When you saw it at Clarence's, I think we just had the flywheels, the base, and the cylinder on it.
Yeah.
And the chassis was started. Our intent was to try to make this thing run under its own power. And we have other members in the club that have visited other collections that have these engines. And this is quite a rare engine. There's very few of these around.
That. Dating about how far back?
This one, the patent date on it is 1899. So it was ran beginning of the century. And it came from a textile shop in New Jersey. And it was used to run a pretty good, a large factory. What they would do with this thing, this would sit and run a line shaft, basically, the length of the building. And small belts would run down off that shaft and run various machines.
We've seen many of the old photographs of similar shops.
And it ran on natural gas. It doesn't have an ignition system, so to speak, on it. It runs on a hot tube, which is similar to the way a diesel operates. The fuel is pulled through a burner and heated to a certain point, and then as the engine compresses it, it ignites it, similar to what a diesel does. Very temperamental and hard to start and hard to tune, though.
So you decided not to make that big step?
Well, we were going to turn it into a spark plug engine, modernize it slightly to make it easier to run. But in the process of working on it, we've discovered that one of the flywheels is bent on it, and it doesn't run straight, and they have to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, this thing can really jump around and vibrate if it was running under its own power.
Is it cast iron, or what is it?
The flywheels are cast, and the crankshaft is forged steel.
How would a flywheel?
Something dropped on it. This engine did go through a fire, and I think probably when that building burnt, something came crashing down on it, and the flywheel on the other side, it only wavers slightly, but about an inch out of round. So we don't really think it's safe enough to try to operate under its own conditions. So
extreme temperature changes can warp things too,
That can happen, right? Exactly. That heat of that fire could have had some effect on it.
Well, the engine itself has quite a history, and it's nice just to see it turn now, even as a semi-static display with a small gas engine and a couple rubber tires, and that takes a little ingenuity all by itself.
Just a little simple friction drive with a lawnmower transmission.
That's why you had to blow up one of the tires before you started today.
Yeah.
You know, the things that show up at these exhibitions, if you will, are very interesting. And before the camera started, Calvin said, we were down, where was it, Westport?
Westport is where we originally started.
And we saw a display of old barbed wire. Well, many of our viewers may know that there are some very passionate collectors of barbed wire. Barbed wire is almost as important in the history of America and pushing the frontiers out toward the West as the engine is, the steam engine and the gas engine. And it's gone through quite a metamorphosis since the very beginning, and modern barbed wire is different from the original barbed wire, but had it not been invented, that old Go West young man theme may never have played out way back. So I've seen some pretty decent displays of barbed wire in the past myself. So what kinds of things can we expect to see in our little tour today?
Well, the main attraction, as you can see, are farm tractors. And there will be gasoline engines, but there'll be a lot of farm-related items here. Items from the kitchen, even, butter churns, things that they use.
Any ice cream makers?
Ice cream makers, we can only hope.
We made some homemade ice cream last week on Shazy Lake, I gotta tell you.
Uh-huh.
I didn't take one bite, because Fran's here. Everybody's around here to check me out.
Uh-huh.
And Shan Moore's here writing an article for the paper. And people know I've been on the Atkins diet for a year, and I don't dare to taste real ice cream.
Right.
But that's about as close as I ever came to getting the biggest spoon I could find. They took the top off that thing. Fresh strawberry, homemade strawberry ice cream. And I'm the one that turned the crank for about 45 minutes.
And you had to stay away from it.
But I can tell you that I had a lot of hot dogs, a lot of hamburgers,
A lot of Atkins food.
a lot of good Atkins food like onions and peppers and mustard. And anyway, so tractors are the mainstay.
Right, and then, you know, other farm-related items. We'll have some working displays of old balers. Stanley Russell from Ellenburg's got an old Alice Chalmers roto baler, one of the first round baling machines. It never really worked out well. Square balers work better, and it kind of got dropped off, so they're kind of rare, but there are a few around. And there'll be another square baler here too, I think. There's snowmobiles even here this time. People heard about our club and asked if they could bring in their old snowmobiles. I said, hey, anything's welcome.
That's beautiful. Well, we're going to take a walk around and give our viewers a bird's eye view of what's here at this antique gas engine and tractor show. You've been involved with it for how long, friend?
Since the beginning in 1991.
Whoa, 13 years.
Yeah.
Just a young slip of a thing back in those days.
I got bit by the bug early, and it kind of sticks.
Do you have a lot of tractors on your own?
I have a few still. I've fixed some up and sold them and picked up others, but I have a few things here. Yeah.
Unlike Clarence, who has how many?
Clarence is down to one brand new Ford now.
Come on.
He thinned out his collection.
Not in the field anymore across the road?
No.
We're going to have to chat with him before we get through here today. Stay with us. We're going to have some fun in our little corner. All right, we're going to walk and talk, and you can just tell me a little bit about what we're looking at, because I don't know much about tractors.
Well, right here, Gordy, this is Dale Bombard's 720 John Deere, 1956. This tractor's kind of unique. That large tank you see on the top is an LP gas tank. That doesn't run on gasoline, it runs on LP gas. Now, these bigger tractors, in its day, this was a large tractor, and it's a wheatland tractor. In the Midwest, they had quite a bit of propane fuel, so they converted tractors to propane fuel because it was cheaper and there was a lot of it. And all they really did was put that pressurized tank on there. The nice thing about propane fuel too, unlike gasoline, it doesn't spoil. The gas can sit in that can for years, and you can come out here and start this tractor up on old fuel. Not like today's gasoline.
We've seen what gasoline does, and with the varnish and the whole thing, yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Dale also does pulling with this tractor. This will be in our tractor pull on Sunday.
Oh, you got a tractor pull coming.
Yes, on Sunday. They actually pull these tractors with a transfer sled in their weight categories, and those guys have a lot of fun. You can tell.
I bet you
they're right
do.
in their glory.
Most of these tractors are completely restored and operating.
Oh yes, what you're looking at here, they are. Now this one is also Dale Bombard's. It's a 450 International 1957 gasoline tractor that he's restored. This is one of the last, or one of the first letter or numbered series tractors from Farmall. They used to be the Farmall H and M, and after that they went to the numbered series in the 50s. And this is kind of the last of this styling of tractor before they had that modern look to them.
Looks like it can still do a day's work,
though. Yes, easily. This is a smaller version of one here. This is Bernard Carter's tractor from Saranac. This is a Farmall 300. It's a couple of years older than Dale's. You can tell it doesn't have the updated painted grill on it and stuff like that, but Bernard does a really nice job restoring his tractors. He gets them mechanically A1. He does exceptional paint work. You know, they're probably in better condition now than when they came off the assembly line.
That's true of a lot of people that restore automobiles too, yeah.
Right, they really pay attention to detail, and they want everything right on them.
How important is it to be able to find the necessary parts and to make the parts that you can't find, I guess?
Well, a lot of the American tractors, like these Farmalls, you can actually go to the dealer and still buy a lot of parts for these things. And there's also a lot of aftermarket companies now that supply parts and hard to get pieces for these things, because this has become such a interesting hobby for people. And people have found ways to cash in on it, you know, like providing intake manifolds and governors and just odd things that may be hard to find. And there's also places you can send your carburetors and ignition systems to be repaired. So you can get an old tractor pretty much up like new again with all the stuff that's out there.
Great. What is this one?
This one here is about a early 1950s McCormick Deering standard tractor. This is the same kind of a tractor as the one we just looked at, but it's a lower laid down model called a utility. The higher narrow front tractor is a row crop tractor. This tractor is designed to go in between rows of growing crops, where this tractor is meant to go over, you know, plow ground and not necessarily travel over the crops. It's just a lower model version called a standard.
Are there still used old tractors for sale here in Clinton County from time to time?
From time to time, Gordy, you do see them. Basically, the ones you're finding now are really wore out. There's not a lot left to them, and people are realizing the value of them. And where you could buy a tractor for a couple $100, you know, 10, 15 years ago, now you're looking at $2,000 to buy something like that. You know, people are asking a lot more money for them. Here we have a narrow front end Case VAC tractor, 1951. There aren't as many of the Case tractors around as there are the John Deere and Farmall, just because there were fewer dealers. But this is a smaller tractor that the average farmer would have on his farm, you know, for light duty. You would have to have a few of them if you were a large farm. And this is owned by Richard Atwood.
It's important to maintain the same color scheme too as when you restore it, right?
Well, when
they're distinctive.
Right, exactly. I mean, when these guys restore these things, they want the exact colors that went on them, and the various parts that were painted different colors. They try to match them up.
Right down to the decals, right?
Right, exactly. And then this is a later model Case. This one's owned by Gene Chauvin, a Case-O-Matic 400. It's got a partly automatic transmission in it. I don't think it's fully automatic, but they call it a Case-O-Matic because you can shift it on the fly. And the one next to it, is owned by Gene Chauvin as well. He's got a couple of these here. A triple range. It just gives you more gear selection along with the transmission. You have a high, a low, and a medium range in it. And these are done up pretty nicely too by Gene, who's been a Ford collector for a while, but then he's gotten involved with some Case tractors here too. I don't think these will be pulling though. These guys basically just show these tractors. They don't really take them out and strain them too hard.
I'm sure some of our viewers had no idea that people collected old tractors and gasoline engines, but boy, you know, if people are going to collect barbed wire, as Calvin said, they'll collect just about anything, and it's fun to restore them because you just don't see them everywhere.
Exactly. What a lot of people like to collect too are stuff they're familiar with from either their farm or their grandfather's farm, and a lot of them even have something from the old farm, and that's what they get started with.
That's like Calvin finding that old John Deere for his father. I mean, who would ever guess that you could look out? It was a birthday, right, Cal?
No.
Just to do it, huh?
Because, yeah, just to do it.
Found the original tractor that he had, and you just told him to look outside one day?
Yeah, we bought it from Tony Trombley, who I'm sure a friend Bushy knows very well. And Tony doesn't sell too many tractors, but he agreed to sell this one because he knew it was my father's first tractor. And
what a great story.
Tony delivered it, and my father told my father to come outside and had Judy running the camera, and we got it all on tape.
Of course we got it all on tape. I love it. And the rest, as they say, is history. Boy, here's an old one.
Yeah, as you can see, some of these tractors come in their work clothes, Gordy.
Yeah, this one did.
This is a Farmall A. It's a smaller tractor designed basically for the vegetable farmer. They call it a cultivision. If you notice, it's offset.
Yes.
And the operator can see right down to the center of the tractor. So as you're traveling over the crops, you can steer the cultivators and stuff and stay away from the corn and not uproot anything. And it's one of the smaller line in the Farmall. They have one still smaller, but these were a very popular tractor, the Farmall A, and there's a lot of them around. They're easy to get.
And it's running. I think it probably ran to get there.
Yeah, everything that you see here, I witnessed it being driven in off a trailer, or something. Now this right here
Oh,
is really
gosh. This
one of
is
my old favorites.
Oh, that's one of my favorites already, and I just happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye. Great old Fordson tractor, the subject of a lot of old jokes and things around the farm, but look at it.
Yeah. You know, this was Ford's first tractor, and they wanted to compete with International at the time, International Harvesters. So they got this tractor together with some of their car parts, some of their truck parts, and then they made the rest of whatever they had to. And they wanted to sell them cheap and get them out there. But these tractors did have some problems too. The biggest problem was they would rear over backwards.
Oh, really?
They were so short,
oh, little
and
wheelies,
such good traction, they could actually flip over backwards and kill the driver if he wasn't able to jump off in time.
Yeah.
Now the later models of these had a fender on them that formed like a skid plate on the back, so they could go up only as far as the fender's allowed. So that stopped a lot of rollover. You know, that was a big help. They also had to crank these tractors to start them. And I've heard stories from men that you can crank and crank until your arms break and you may not get it running. Other people have pull started them with a team of horses, whatever it took to get them going.
Whatever it takes.
Because they were no more than batteries with coils in the beginning, like the Model T had.
What year
I
put
think
on this,
I
roughly?
think the Fordson started out in 1920, in the early 1920s. And they made this tractor. Henry built this tractor up until 1939 is when the first 9N Ford came out. You're familiar with what the 8N and the 9N looked like.
Sure.
These were built up to that point. And they were also built in England and in Ireland. And
I didn't know about Ireland.
Yeah, they were built there, and they were put on rubber tires and built up into the, I think, almost the 30s before they really changed and went to a different style. But they're on, all of the older ones were on steel, like you see here, and especially during the wartime you couldn't get a rubber tired tractor because that all went for the war effort. The nice thing about steel is you never have a flat tire, but they certainly find every stone in the field too, though.
Oh yes, and it feels real
They're
good
deep.
after you've been plowing all day.
They
that's
could be
for
teeth
sure.
rattlers.
Yep.
Now this tractor has the original temperature control on the front.
Yep.
These shutters are open and closed depending on the outside temperature. If it's really cold out, you want your tractor to warm up, you close these. And in warm weather, you would open them and allow the air to go across the
Calvin
window.
doesn't remember, but I can remember many times in the old days putting a piece of cardboard in front of the radiator so it would warm up in the morning.
Right.
And this is just another way to do it, like
Right.
the big diesel trucks do.
To keep them warm. They burn, because actually these tractors burn kerosene as well, and you needed the engine hot to burn the kerosene.
There you go.
You know. Here we have a Farmall Super C. This is about probably an early 1950. It's got hydraulics on it. It's one of the first Farmall tractors that actually had a hydraulic system to lift the equipment hydraulically instead of by hand with large levers. So you didn't have to do that by hand, pick your cultivators up at the end of the field. You had just touch control. They were a real nice tractor. They were very popular. There's a lot of them around. There's a farmer on Route 9 in Beekmantown, Lawrence Deal, still has one. It looks as nice as this one, and he plants his corn with it, or sprays corn or something every year with it. You see him using it frequently. And a few other farms, smaller farms, still use them to move wagons around and just light-duty chores around the farm. They're kind of handy.
Well, new tractors cost a lot of money. And
Exactly.
if you can keep one running.
Exactly. And considering farmers are only making the same money on their milk now that they were years ago,
Yeah, what do we got over
they
here?
got to save money.
Yep.
Over here, this is a Massey Harris tractor. These were built in Canada.
Gosh, I haven't seen one
Massey
in a long time.
Massey Ferguson is what they ended up eventually being, but these were Massey Harris. There are no decals on this one. I'm not sure of the size. It's probably about a 30 horse tractor. There'll be a few more of these here. They were Canadian made. There's not a lot of them around, but you do see a few now and then. And they never really built their own engine. They used engines from other manufacturers. They had Chrysler engines in them, Hercules engines in them, but they were easy to get parts for and stuff. And even still, you know, if you need to find something for it, it's not that difficult.
It's a great old beast. Somebody got the old paintbrush out and did a Did a hand-painted job on it.
Here you have another McCormick Gearing Standard, similar to Bernard Carter's, a W4. And another nice Super MD. Super MD, M is the model, D designates its diesel. These early diesel tractors that McCormick Gearing had actually had to start on gasoline. There's a small tank on it that holds about a gallon of gasoline, and the main tank holds the diesel fuel. So you would start the tractor on gasoline, and then once it warmed up, you shift a few of those levers on the side and switch it from the gasoline to the diesel. And it makes a hell of a racket when it switches over.
I bet you it
from one to the
does.
other.
That's amazing, yeah.
But the idea of starting on gasoline was a big help because these were
They
extremely
did that on all
difficult
kinds
to
of
start.
big equipment on tractors and Caterpillars.
Right.
Look at it. Look at the glass.
Yeah,
what's it got in?
I think that there's a small John Deere caught in the air breather up there.
I think that might be. You think that might be a commentary? Count
I think
up there in the glass jar
Oh.
next to the stack.
I think somebody's trying to get one of the John Deere guys.
Hey, you think that's what I thought. That's a little commentary. There's
Back when
always been friendly competition.
Oh
right?
yes, yes, it's all done in fun. This was actually the biggest farm-all tractor of its time, the M tractor. This is probably a late 40s, early 50, somewhere in there. And it's a row crop tractor. It's high with the narrow tires.
You've done a nice job on it.
I'm not sure who the owner is.
Oh, look at this lovely spectacle.
Now this tractor here is a really rare bird. This is a Farmall A, similar to the one you saw down on the end that wasn't painted over. Now this tractor is called a high crop tractor. It's designed to be picked up off the ground as much as it can. They were used in tobacco and cotton fields in the south, and there are a few found up here. Basically what they do with that Farmall A, they put a bigger rear tire on it to get it up in the air more, and on the front axle it's got an extended front axle to lift the front up more.
I noticed that.
So this tractor is probably about 18 inches higher off the ground than the first Farmall A you saw. And there aren't a lot of these around. This is kind of a rare one. It's the first one I've ever seen, and I've heard some of the other older collectors here comment on it that they've never seen one as well.
It's like original front tires, at least on this side. Boy, look at the weather check.
Yeah.
That's
It's pretty much in its original condition. I mean, the paint's rusted right off it, but it's complete and running and still workable. I would guess this to be about a 40s probably, or maybe a late 40s, early 50s, because it does have hydraulics on it. I can see there's a hydraulic system there too, so. This is toward the end too, but it's a specialty tractor, and all the tractor manufacturers, International, John Deere, a lot of them did make high crop versions.
Is there some advantage to buying an old tractor like this and not restoring it? I mean, just to get it running and...
Right, well some people like to leave them in their original state. If they still have legible decals on them and decent paint still, it's worth actually more left alone sometimes.
You know, you watch the Antiques Roadshow, and that's where most of us get our education about antiques.
Uh-huh.
And you hear them say over and over again, why did you restore that hutch?
Right.
It would have been worth so much more if you had left it in its original condition. And you know, they're big pushes to get furniture restored and get it back to its original condition. But sometimes it is worth more if you don't touch it.
Right. Some people like to leave them right in their original state like that. I mean, you know, that looks like a tired old man sitting there, doesn't it?
Doesn't it, huh? You think I ought to go sit next to it?
No, not you. Not yet.
I hope not. All right.
Now we have
a little mowing here.
Yeah, we have some more John Deeres. I think this one's owned by Bruce Sullivan, Banker Orchards.
Oh,
I
yes.
recognize the mower on it. This is probably an early 50s tractor. It's a 430 John Deere gasoline model. And he does mow with that along the orchard with it. It's a shorter mower bar on it, but it looks like it's just been used by the grass hanging off of it. And it's kind of a little bit more modern. It's got power steering. You can see the decal on it, and it's got a live hydraulic system. So it actually has a lot of the modern things that new tractors have on, that they still use today. Live power steering, live hydraulics, live PTO, things like that. And it's kind of the last of the John Deeres before the new generation John Deeres came out. One way to tell, It's got a slanted steering wheel on it and a little bit of a dash panel on the front.
Oh, it does?
It does, so that's kind of the last of this line.
I noticed he has what we used to call a spinner knob on the steering wheel.
Right. That's to get around those corners fast.
Yeah, they're right. At the end of the row and start back, huh?
Right.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be very popular to put on the steering wheel. You thought that was really cool to steer your car with a knob.
If something happened to those front wheels, goodbye knuckles.
Oh, you got that right.
They were knuckle busters too.
Hurt yourself very badly.
Now, Bruce uses a lot of his tractors right at the orchard, and he has the different places he does use them. It's kind of good because it keeps them limbered up and running better.
Sure.
It's actually better for these things if they're ran periodically.
Yeah, I understand
that.
Same thing for automobiles.
Now this old John Deere B, if I'm not mistaken, I think, well, maybe Bruce owns this one as well. He's got them all in a row here. Now this is one of the old originals. Tony Tremblay's got a lot of these, this type. It's got the steering wheel coming down the top versus what you see on this tractor. I would bet that this one goes back probably early 40s, maybe even older. It's got steel cutoffs on it. Cutoffs were what they did was they cut the steel off and put a rubber rim on. When the farmer was able to finally get rubber tires, they would just cut the steel off, buy rims, buy tires, and re-weld a rim on with a rubber tire.
No kidding. Is that what really happened? It wasn't. You don't think that's a factory job?
No, you can tell because they were welded. The factory jobs are a little bit smoother, but this was a pretty good job, whoever did do it. It was quite difficult to tell. These Model Bs were very popular. There was a ton of these things around. I think every farm in the North Country that had John Deere's probably had a Model B on it. This bigger one here, this 860 diesel, this is another wheatland tractor that comes from the Midwest. These tractors weren't really a lot of these around here. They used them to break open that prairie sod and stuff. And this one is a diesel tractor. This one starts with a gasoline pony motor. So they have to actually get one engine started first, that small gasoline powered pony motor, and then when that warms up they engage it and turn over the diesel and get the diesel engine fired up. And it's a 2-cylinder diesel. It's got 2 pistons in it the size of paint cans.
No kidding.
And I hope you get to hear one of these things run, because when they start, they're quite a noisemaker. They really got a lot of loud exhaust sound to them. They sound powerful just sitting there idling.
John Deere sound is unique and legendary.
It is. You can hear one coming a mile away and tell what it is. This is a smaller John Deere M series tractor, I think. Just a small 2-cylinder utility tractor used around the farm for light chores. Probably about a 1940 something, I'm going to guess. Wide front end on it, a little more stable like that. I worked on a farm when I was a kid for Joe Gregoire, and he had one of those in the barn with a scraper behind it that we cleaned the barn with. The shortness of it and stuff made it really maneuverable inside the freestall barn. And it ran great for years and years. They're very dependable.
I love it.
Another John Deere B with factory rubber on it, right from the factory, a little bit newer than the last one we looked at, probably. This one has electric start on it. It's got a shield over it, so there's a starter on the flywheel. Fairly freshly painted up, new decals on it. These Model Bs were popular. You'll see a lot of them here. And they're a nice, easy tractor, too, to move on a trailer and stuff. They're not extremely heavy. And yet they're still usable around your home, too. If you have property, if you have woods or something and you like to cut your own firewood, they're handy for small chores like that. Now we have another Farmall line here, a Farmall H. The Farmall H was basically the comparison tractor to the John Deere B, horsepower, size, and weight-wise. They're both about the same size. This tractor here looks to be probably a 1940s or so. It doesn't have live hydraulics on it. It's got the basic equipment on it that you could get with them even in 1939. These came out in 1939, and I think they built them up to 1953. 53 and 54, they called it a Super H. And they just increased the horsepower, and they would add live hydraulics to it. This one's in really nice condition, new rubber on it. Quite a usable tractor. Here we have another old case. No decals on it. This tractor just came in today.
Really?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it before. It's the first time it's been to the show. It looks like a fairly. I can smell the paint, Gordy. Can you smell the paint?
I can smell it too.
Yeah. I think if we touch it, we might even put a mark
I
on
told
it.
Calvin earlier we're gonna smell diesel fuel. We're gonna smell gasoline.
Right.
We're gonna smell oil.
Right.
Now we can smell fresh orange paint.
Fresh orange paint.
That's quite a machine.
Yeah, somebody's got it all straightened up and painted and ready to go. It looks quite original still. It has the original case toolbox on it. That's kind of unique.
That's amazing.
A lot of times those things were removed and never really put back
they
on.
get beat up, you know,
Get
over the
beat up.
years.
Yeah. It looks like it's got a little bit bigger tires on than it normally would have had. Maybe they're going to use it in the tractor pull.
You think so?
They might. With great big tires like that on it, they might have some idea for it.
All right, we're going to pause for just a moment, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show with Frank Bushy and company. Yes.
I got to explain while I was looking at that John Deere. You were talking about this orange.
Down there.
I was looking for OZZIE. I think OZZIE is here, OZZIE Sweet, and you were talking about this nice orange color, and I'm still looking at the farm hall.
That's all right.
So-
we didn't turn around
So
to see which way your head was going. We were going back in the other direction. Okay, we're going to try to stop for a moment.
Yep.
And okay, let's do that and continue our program. Stay with us. Well, we rounded him up. He was checking out the stock around here. That's what he was doing. OZZIE Sweet, it's a pleasure to finally meet you after seeing your wonderful photographs for more than a few decades, and to hear Calvin rave and drool and rave. And finally, when I heard you were going to be here today, I said, I'll be there. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You're looking great.
Well, thank you.
You don't look a day over,
95.
no, I was going to say 81. No. Doesn't he look a little bit like Hemingway? Take a look. How many pictures did you take of Hemingway?
I took him late when he called him Pop. You know, he had the beard.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh,
all-
well, that's
Yeah, and that's
it's your photographs that made him famous, you know.
He smoked out of this corner, so this is all yellow from cigarettes smoking. Yeah, he grew a beard.
He did, now we can talk about him now he's gone.
Yeah.
He did over imbibe and all those things in life that we doctors are telling us now are bad for us. And he smoked a lot.
Right. Well, I last photographed him in Cuba. They had a pigeon shoot, but instead of scaling clay pigeons, they released real pigeons. That wasn't allowed here. So there was an event over there. That True. You remember the old magazine, True, the men's magazine?
How well, I just wrote a column about it a couple of weeks ago. Yes, I was their #1 avid fan and subscriber.
Oh yeah, it was that all of a sudden it went down the drain.
Well, you shot more than one picture for True, didn't you?
Oh yeah, for
a long
years.
time.
Yeah. But I saw him down there and releasing the pigeons, and they shoot the real thing.
A lot of things they did down there that we can't get away with in this company. I went to Mexico last year and somebody said, "You want to go to a bullfight?" I said, "No, I don't think so." That's not really my cup of tea. You have traveled to so many countries and done so many things and met so many people. And I found during my career that the people make the difference.
Yes, well, you've met enough people to know what you're talking about.
Just met so many people and had so much fun meeting them and meeting new people all the time. And most of the things that I captured were either on audio tape or now with Calvin for the last 7 years on videotape. But you've captured them forever.
Oh, well,
And most of them in black and white.
yeah, a lot of it was black and white, and I'm still using. My clients still want the real old-fashioned film, nothing digital.
And the real old-fashioned cameras. How many cameras do you have?
Well, I use the Hasselblad system, but I use view cameras on this.
Do you?
Yeah, set it up, get under the hood, just like Matthew Brady did covering the Civil War.
Without Matthew Brady, we wouldn't have had that wonderful public television series on the Civil War, would we? With
That's
all
right.
the
All that
thousands
skill.
and hundreds of thousands of photographs that he took in the early days of photography. It was only a couple of decades old.
And travel with a darkroom tent. Well, the thing about that, he spent so much money and all, but when the war was over, of course, everybody was sick and tired of the war. They didn't want to see the pictures, so they just laid around for a while, and of course he didn't got busy doing portraits and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was much later, and then of course now they're of great value.
Isn't that amazing? And we had a, not to digress, but that's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
We had a famous Adirondack region photographer way back in that century called Seneca Ray Stoddard, who took some classic photographs of the Adirondack region that we prize today, because we're pretty proud of this area.
Oh gosh, yes.
And I'm sure you've seen a lot of the old Stoddard photographs.
Oh yes, yeah, I'm familiar with them.
You, some of our viewers, and I know Calvin has done a wonderful interview with you, but a lot of our viewers don't know that you were born in New Russia, New York. So no matter where you claim home over the years, you're still a North Country boy.
Right, right. And went to the little one-room school there, you know. I remember the teacher was always from out of town. And, of course, we were within sight of the school, so she always boarded with us. So if I had any problems in the evening, the teacher was right under the same roof. But I'll never forget, back in those days, room and board, $1 a day.
Think about it.
$7 a week.
Think about it.
Yeah, and if she went to visit her folks who lived in Glens Falls, she had a little Model T that she drove. That, of course, she'd be gone a couple of days, so then it was only $5. I mean, you know,
Think about it.
but she used to help dry dishes and
Oh, isn't that
help around.
beautiful?
You know,
Yeah.
it was nice.
Oh, that's wonderful. That anybody who's attended a 1 or 2 room schoolhouse.
Yeah, and I remember the Dentons were the only ones. You know, we had kerosene lamps right up
Oh, sure.
until I can remember going out to the privy, you know, with a kerosene lantern, and the old tomcat that lived in the woodshed would come out and sit with me, you know. And I was so happy to have the cat, and the cat was so happy to have me, you know.
That was a real partnership, wasn't it?
But the Dentons, Sadie and Leslie Denton, they had a generator, so they had power and an indoor toilet and bath. And when
Wow, big time.
Oh, when Sadie
Big
invited
time.
you, yeah, Sadie invited. The greatest thing in the world was when Sadie invited you to come up and have a bath in her real bathtub.
Isn't that don't get me started on the old war stories, because I remember the first flush toilet I ever saw with the tank overhead.
Right. Yeah.
And I pulled a chain because I thought I was turning the light on. And I heard this sound, and I said, oh, here we go. We're going to get blown away. I couldn't understand why this water was coming down on me. So you obviously had a pretty happy childhood.
Oh, I wouldn't have changed it for anything. So one of the sad things, of course, is the old homestead burned down about a year ago.
Oh, it did? I
So
didn't know
the
that.
only thing left is the chimney. But
Do you have pictures of it?
No, I don't. No,
You never took pictures?
of the old place. Oh yes,
Yeah,
I
you
have
did.
snapshots. You
Yeah.
know. Oh yeah, the old barn, of course, and the chicken house and the ice house, all of that, you know, collapsed, finally rotted away. But the homestead was there, and it's for sale now. I think there's 42 acres or something like that, and it's for sale.
Here's your chance.
Yeah,
Come back home.
Been kicking.
Find
around.
your roots.
Yeah, been kicking around, maybe just buying it.
It's on television. You can't back off now. Oh, wouldn't that be fantastic?
Yeah.
To own a little piece of home.
Yeah, I think it's they're asking 42,000 or something
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness, you can make that much on this tractor shoot here.
That's
today.
right. Yeah.
Ozzie has done so many things, and I'm not going to tell folks what his real first name is. Oh, why not?
Oh, that's Oscar. Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
I read one time that you said my last name. I took enough grief over my last name.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't going to be Oscar Sweet.
Well, the thing is, when you're a kid, Sweet was tough to live with, but then Oscar Sweet was really tough. I had to use my dukes often to defend that
That's
name.
probably why you're still alive. You're a survivor. But you know, you've done so many things, and I hope our viewers are familiar with much of what this man has done, because he's just become a photographic icon, and he represents all that I love about that business, and how many close to 1,800 maybe magazine covers, 17, 1,800.
It's past 17.
It's past 17 magazine covers, not to mention all the other things he's taken for his own enjoyment and just because it was there.
That's right.
To snap a picture of it.
Yeah.
For so many wonderful magazines down through the years. But now you're doing some different kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
This tractor calendars and the animal, the kitty cats.
Right, and we do truck calendars.
Truck calendars too.
Yeah, we do the Napa calendar, automobiles, and that's you have to use pretty models with that, so that adds a little extra spark of fun.
And we're always searching for extra sparks, aren't we? Yeah,
Right.
I know. But it's so much fun for us to have you back up in Plattsburgh today, and you try to follow the old antique engine and tractor shows.
Oh yes, yeah. I go to in truck shows, auto shows, and that's not work. That's fun. See, I'm shooting here. Usually when I go to a show, I just scout, find the cars and stuff, and then find a location and shoot it. But I'm actually doing some shooting here, more than just finding it to shoot later.
It's not bad when you got a little sunshine, a little shadow.
Yeah, it's real nice.
You can set it up the way you want. I can't help but mention it briefly here. We have so much to see and do here today, but this man has always been the master of setting up a shot and making it look like it's happening right now.
Really.
Nowadays, this reality and the virtual digital reality that you do photographically and all the changing of shots, I mean, you invented so many of the techniques that other people wish they could do, because if somebody swung a bat or shoot a horse or did something that you wanted to capture, you would spend as long as it took to set the shot up right. I'm thinking of that famous bobsled shot with your own kids involved, and the wires and the hats and the whole that became world famous. But you've never been satisfied if you couldn't get the shot right, have you?
Well, that's right. And of course, we call those photo illustrations. In other words, it's just like starting with an empty canvas, and but when it's finished, you hope that people will think, oh, that was a lucky shot. You happened to grab that. Wow.
You had more lucky shots than any man alive or dead, and you know it. But being at the right place at the right time is one thing, and next thing is to get it in the picture so you inspire people.
Right.
And how many of your photographs do you look at today and say, hey, photographs from 1950, 1952, 3, say, hey, not bad. How did I figure that out?
Yeah, without the help of digital.
Yeah, well, today people don't realize when they pick up their magazine cover today that the picture they're seeing is so far from what the photographer was taking a picture of. You mentioned models before. There's a lot of things that can be done in fixing those photographs to taking the blemishes away, but a lot of your photographs include the blemishes, and that's where the charm is. That's what makes them unique.
Well, thank you.
Especially the sports photographs. You talked about Hemingway with the tobacco stains on his mouth.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's what it was all about.
Yeah. Well, we're doing a book called The Boys of Spring, and it's going to review spring training back into the 50s. Right up through. It's been a lot of fun.
That's being put together now?
Yes, yeah.
You got all the shots you need?
Yep. Well, the last 2 years I've gone down to spring training to bring it up to date and photographed Jeter and all the others.
Don't you wish you'd been there when he dove over when he dove into the stands last week?
And came up bloody. God.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, of course, he made a great hero of himself. And the letters he'll get now from girls, they think he's the best-looking guy this side of the...
I have a gal that used to work with me in the probation department who had one. He came out with his picture on a cereal box, and she had it tacked to her wall, along with every other piece of Derek Jeter memorabilia known. And now, if that woman could ever lay her hands on that Band-Aid that or whatever he had on his jaw for several days.
Yes.
That would she'd be happy forever and ever.
That's right. That'd have real value.
When you say you enjoy what you do, it's obvious. You have a great passion and love for what you do, but you love life. You love people. Going to spring training every year ain't bad either, you know.
No, that's fun. Yeah, that what I do though, instead of using the big camera, I use the Hasselblads.
Yeah.
And just moved around and shot handheld, and we went all over the place. Larry Kennelly's the writer that I work with, and he's great.
That's a good connection you have with him.
Oh, he's wonderful. And each camp we'd go to, there'd be two teams because it'd be after they started playing one another. So we visited 6 camps, but actually photographed 12 different teams. But you had to hustle to get it done. You know?
You've been hustling since you started. The first picture you took in earnest was it before 1942?
It was 49. It was ended up as a cover on Newsweek, and it was 1942.
It was 1942.
Yeah.
That photograph and all the others you shot for Newsweek and Sport Magazine, every one is a classic.
Well,
I suppose.
You're nice to say that.
Well,
at least the editor liked it well enough to use it.
hey, that's what counts in those days, right?
Right.
But over and over and over again, you managed to get it right. And there are people say you just have that magic, and the magic hasn't gone anywhere after all these years. That's the best part of it.
Well, I would like to take this opportunity to mention Adirondack Life.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, they spent all day yesterday, and
I heard about that.
They're planning a nice big feature, which will be fun.
Isn't that
fun.
great? Because that's your old stamping ground.
That's it. I was just the little one-room school was in the story, and how the older kids. Of course, now you don't hear of Limburger cheese very often, but back in those
Go ahead. I want to hear it because
back in those days, Limburger cheese was well, my dad called it two-handed cheese, one to hold your nose, one to eat it. Well,
I love it.
A couple of the older boys rubbed Limburger cheese all over the teachers' rulers and pencils and so on, and that wasn't very nice. But they didn't do many mischievous things.
And
I was too young to be involved in that little, so they called them scallywags back in those days, scallywag.
I was probably in that category, and maybe one or two other that we could mention, but the Limburger behind the steam pipes or the radiators was a familiar trick. And somebody did it to me when I started in the radio business almost 50 years ago, and the whole place cleared out, and I had to stay on the air for over 24 hours while they tore the walls apart trying to find out. They thought it was a dead rat on the walls, and it turned out to be the remnants of Limburger cheese. And there were a few words that weren't arable back in those days. So that's very nice of them to do that feature about you. You, just to let people know, you live in Maine now. Is it York?
York Harbor, Maine.
York Harbor, Maine.
Yeah.
And that's not bad either, you know.
No, we love it.
It's part of this great United States that we know and love so much, and why the great song America was written. I talked about it a lot in a recent column over the 4th of July weekend. It's a pretty country.
Oh, yeah.
You travel abroad and come back home and see these mountains as you're coming up through the Adirondack and say, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I love crossing the bridge down Lake Champlain. I always, and then I know when I get across the bridge, there's a Port Henry and then Westport and then E-Town. And
you're there. You're almost home.
That's right. Yeah.
For those people who drive through New Russia, don't expect a Walmart.
I know. Everyone that ever mentioned it to, they wonder how in blazes that way up in the Adirondacks a little village was called New Russia.
Well, we had a Russia right here in Clinton County, and there are a lot of ghost towns that were very popular during the days of the mining days and so on. And there's a hill west of here called Rouget Hill, which is spelled R-U-S-S-I-A. It's just a bastardization of the word Russia. So. Yeah, we had a new Russia, and even though it wasn't a thriving metropolis, It was what you called home. So what are you going to do here today, Oz?
I want to photograph a few of the tractors. I've done one. Went up, took it. They were nice enough to bring it up to the place where you can get the logs, you know, and they have a nice log house up there. And I, of course, I got permission, and the owner was very
That's
gracious.
only about a mile from here as the crow flies,
Yeah,
a couple miles.
A couple of miles, yeah. That's another thing. You have to pick locations that don't have to carry, take the tractors very far. But this was a perfect setting because it's a model log cabin, and it's just beautiful. And it doesn't distract from the tractor because it's right up front, but it says Adirondacks,
It certainly does. Logs say Adirondacks.
Yeah.
That certainly does. So you're going to move a couple of tractors out in the field and set them up so you can shoot one past the other.
Yes. That's. I hope that's what is cooking.
We'll get it working for you if we have to make a key. Ozzie, thanks for talking with us. We're going to continue to talk with you throughout the day and watch you as you set up the shots. It's such a great pleasure to meet you, and thank you for your great contribution in photography and everything else in this great world.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ozzie.
You bet. Thank you.
I hear those tractors coming.
Fran, when I was a young guy growing up in Franklin County, there were a lot of cockshut tractors over there. I don't know if there was a dealership or not, but I haven't seen many around this area in Clinton County for some reason. I don't know if we didn't have a dealer here back then or what the deal was. I noticed a few pulling in here today, though.
I knew of a cockshot dealer that was in Chazy back in the 40s, I guess. That's the only one I was ever aware of, but there are a few cockshots around, but not many. They're a Canadian-made tractor.
I saw that one, and I saw
a couple more there.
A couple more over behind us. We walked by when Calvin and I came in over Calvin's right shoulder.
Yeah. The Canadians like to collect those.
They
Apparently,
do, huh?
they're abundant in Canada.
No
And
kidding.
there's a lot of them up there. In fact, tomorrow, during the pull, there'll be some Canadians here with some really strong cockshot tractors. You'll be amazed what some of those things can still muster.
I was intrigued by when Calvin said you were going to have a parade tonight. You guys have never done that before. You're going to get all these tractors out on Route 3. Where are you going to go with them?
We're going to leave the fairgrounds at 7 o'clock, and we're going to travel down Route 3 to Smithfield Boulevard and back with a police escort. Plattsburgh's first tractor ride. It was an idea that was kicked around through some of the meetings this winter of a tractor ride, and when should we do it, where should we do it. So we talked about it and decided we would use it as a gimmick to promote the show.
I think I think you ought to have big signs.
When we said anybody in favor, all the hands went up. So.
Oh, I just think that's great. I see a couple of John Deeres coming. These are the ones that hopefully we're going to get over there where Ozzie is.
Right. These are those John Deere diesels with GM diesels in them. Husband and wife pulling team right there.
No kidding.
And they do real well.
I wonder if they know where to go. Should we go over and tell them where we want them?
Why don't we go meet them over there?
Okay, let's do it. Well, the weather is holding. It's in real time. It's 8 minutes after 5 as we're doing our show from the Clinton County Fairgrounds in an area that would normally be bustling with all kinds of activity and carnival action and who knows what all, and will be in real time only in a very short time from now. And always when the Clinton County Fair is on, guess where Gordy is? Camping up on the St. Lawrence River at Coles Creek. So I generally get to miss the fair, but I have attended a few fairs on the way. Just to let you know what is transpiring and has transpired, OZZIE SWEET is here with his camera, Shan Moore is here with the Press Republican, and we got 2 John Deeres on their way. Husband and wife team with some great diesel John Deeres that Ozzie would like to get some pictures of. Actually, he picked out a couple other tractors earlier, and there were no keys around for him. We were going to take him for a joyride, maybe in the parade. But that didn't happen. So the tractors are coming. The tractors are coming. The tractors are coming. It's a wonderful evening. This is the beginning of a nice weekend event in the North Country. We have been so blessed around here lately with activity in the Mayor's Cup, some tremendous individual artists and bands and local singers trying out for accolades during the Mayor's Cup with the big races coming up. It's just been a good year and a just an absolutely tremendous celebration, and we're delighted to have all these things happening in our own backyard. And yes, it is a very special place. We thought we'd like to come over and watch Ozzie as he prepares his camera, sets up the shot in that great illustrative way that he talked about in our interview earlier, and just show you how the master works. Hey, I think I coined a new phrase, how the master works. What a sound, huh? Tell us, Ozzie, a little bit about this camera you're going to use.
Well, it's a view camera, 4x5 view camera, and of course it's I'll show you how you probably remember how you have to see. You have a dark cloth.
Of course you have a dark cloth.
Yeah, and one side is red, and the reason is that so often I'm working on the side of the road or something.
That makes perfect sense to me.
And I'd rather not get run over.
I like that idea.
But no, that's this 4x5, and you, of course, on something like this where you have complete control, why not? You know, use your swings and tilts and get everything needle
Just
sharp.
exactly the way you want it.
Yeah.
Have you had this particular camera for a long time?
Oh, I've had one like it. The optics, of course, are up to date and all, but it's the same old thing. The view camera that's been around. Well, a lot of the schools now are that's part of the courses now in the photo schools.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
For years they didn't. They had all small handheld cameras and all that. But lately because they feel with all the swings and tilts and other things, they learn so much more about photography, you know, by using a view camera.
Have you written books about photography itself, or you're mostly theme books? Have you actually written books, or how-to books?
Yeah, I've written a couple of them.
Have you really?
Yeah. One of them was called My Camera Pays Off.
I love it. Perfect title. A long time ago?
Yes, way back in the 50s.
Way back in the 50s. Doesn't seem like that long ago to me. Maybe to some of our younger people it might. Well, the tractors are arriving, and you get them set wherever you want. We'll watch your work, buddy. Okay.
Now comes the hard part, getting him exactly where he wants them.
Now, if those were horses, that'd be easy, right? The idea is to get them set up, and there's no hurrying this part of the procedure, so we'll get as much of it as we can on tape. Just when we say a master at work, I hope some of our viewers, especially the younger viewers who may not have seen Ozzie's byline, if you will.
Let's compare cameras here.
Oh yeah, there's a small difference, right, Shane?
I'm embarrassed.
No, well, it takes a picture. I don't know if a press Republican has ever claimed an OZZIE Sweet.
I've never claimed to be a photographer either.
Isn't he a neat guy, Shan?
He's amazing.
Just
He's
an
really
amazing and
amazing.
wonderful
He's an amazing neighbor. That's what he's going to be.
He's just an amazing neighbor. That's a good feature too. That was a long time coming into the
We got to
press
thank you
Republican.
and Calvin for sharing him with us.
Oh gosh, we'll share everything. We never get paid for anything, so we'll share whatever we do. Delighted, I was just thrilled and delighted to meet the man when he came here today. He's giving you stage direction here, huh? He'll get him just exactly the way he wants him. You said husband and wife team, right? What are their names?
Right. I'm not sure. I haven't really met them. I just know that they do belong to the pulling club, and they are a husband and wife pulling team. I think they're from Western New York, somewhere out near.
Oh, really? They
yeah.
came.
Not that far, maybe an hour or so west, Malone
Okay.
area, probably.
You said Western New York. I
Well,
thought Niagara
Western
Falls,
here.
Buffalo. Okay.
When you mentioned earlier, Gordy, about things to do in the summer and in North Country here, and as this show is going on over in Malone, there's their annual agricultural show which is competing head-on with this, because it's a lot of it the same theme, except they're modern agriculture, not the antique stuff. But they do have usually some antique tractors set up there. And of course, this is the weekend of the Woodsman's Field Days in Tupper Lake.
Oh, I forgot all about that. And you know what? You know what killed me in the newspaper a couple days ago? Our friend Woody that we interviewed at the Woodman's
Oh yeah.
Days had a tragic fire. He's the guy that carves all the tree trunks. He had a tragic fire, got burned out. It's an amazing story. He and his wife are deeply religious people, wonderful people. Their neighbors felt so badly about it, they helped them rebuild and helped them get started again. I saw the fact that his shop had burned down again in the newspaper. You wonder how much, I said to my wife, how much can a family take? This guy's got a lot of money tied up in big chainsaws, little chainsaws, special equipment. He does these big 6, 8, 10-foot bears for hotels all around the world. You never know, do you?
No,
You never know, friend. That's why I say take advantage of today. Enjoy what we have today. Ozzie's out there like he's done this before, you know. You put that one over there and put this one over here. We'll get the
A little
camera
particular
going.
where he wanted them, but
Well,
looks
the
like
way
he's
it
about
goes.
ready.
That's
Yeah.
the way it goes. He knows exactly how to do it. Oh, we're going to move again. It's cool. It's amazing because he's got the shot in his head.
I think
like
he's
a carpenter,
visualizing his
yeah.
finished product already.
Like a painter knowing what he wants
Yeah.
the picture to look like. And that's what he's doing, is painting a picture of these two tractors.
We should almost let Ozzie put him where he wants to.
Yeah.
And he'll come up here and he'll take a couple of John Deeres, but he also wants cockshots and cases. He wants, a calendar. They want a
variety,
different
yeah.
one
Oh,
every
yeah.
every month. So
Right.
you can't come here and take 12 John Deere pictures.
Right.
Oh,
But his classic car calendars that he used to take are just fantastic.
It's amazing everywhere. I have so many of those at home. It's incredible.
I know up our way, Paquette's Insurance for many, many years had their calendar, and when I became aware of Ozzie, I decided to look at the name on those calendars, and there it was OZZIE SWEET, that I've been throwing those calendars out at the end of the year every year. So since then I kept the ones, and since then they've gone to, Ozzie doesn't do that type of calendar anymore. So I've only got maybe 3 years worth of OZZIE SWEET classic car things, but if you remember going back when the late Arnie Beale was town supervisor in Champlain, framed pictures in his office at the town of Champlain office were photos from that calendar that he had framed up and put in his office. So they're really beautiful shots when Ozzie gets done.
Well, it's what I said before about most people not being familiar with the name OZZIE SWEET. Hopefully this program will generate enough comments so people will get on their internet, just see how many internet sites there are with the name OZZIE SWEET on, how many books are available, how many prints are available.
Oh yeah, and you go to eBay and it's very
Yes.
rare that there aren't several of his books available. The Mickey Mantle one and the Field of Dreams one in particular are often there. I got a couple copies of his My Camera Pays Off books off eBay, and it's amazing collection of work that he has done. He just like our good friend Arto Monaco died a year ago. This guy has accomplished a variety of things and an amazing resume.
And loves to take pictures. You can tell he's in his element, talking to anybody about it and getting young people involved. He's told me that he's written a couple of how-to books, which I had no idea till today. So I imagine he's willing to give all kinds of instruction to people.
Gordy, I think we ought to move around and get a picture of what he's looking at.
Yeah.
Let's change
Yeah,
our
we
angle.
will.
Let's
We
do
will.
that. Just take a walk around to see. Many of us have been on these grounds at different times down through the years for Clinton County Fair, for horse shows, and for various events. This is a very popular venue.
This is where the carnival is, right here.
And this is where the
where
carnival
all the
is.
rides are if you come to the county fair. Don't back up too far, Ozzie.
Yeah, don't fall in the ditch. This is pretty neat. You don't suppose he's staging a crash, do you?
Waiting for the airplane to come in, right?
Yeah. And we heard those beautiful diesel tractors coming around the bend.
Did you hear them?
I just love the sound.
Oh yeah, they make a nice sound. That's what we like about them. People like that.
You folks are from Chateaugay.
Chateaugay, yeah.
What are your names?
William and Helen Peets.
I don't know if I've ever seen a husband and wife tractor pulling team before in my lifetime.
Well,
Kind of difficult to have them beat me once in a while.
Oh no, that must kill you. How can you stand it?
Well, I beat the first time out, so that
Oh.
no, it matters.
Yeah, the first time out this year, she took first place, so she was kind of happy. You know, if you take first place once a year, you're doing well.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
How did you guys get together with John Deere's anyway? Obviously, you've been together with each other for a long
Yeah,
time.
well, we wanted something different, a little different than what everybody else is using, and we decided on these 435 John Deere's.
Were they both the same year?
They're both the same year,
What year?
59.
It was a good year, I guess.
It's a good year, and we're working on another one at home.
Are you really?
We're
Yeah.
working
Same
on-
year?
Same year, yeah.
Just partial? Then what's special about 1959? Anything?
Well, it's just that John Deere put this Detroit diesel in them for approximately 9 months, and then
just that year?
just that year,
No kidding.
yeah. So it makes them a little unique.
Makes them a lot unique. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And you have them look that good. Did you do the restoration yourself, or have somebody else do it for you, or did you buy them like this? Or
No, we did it ourselves.
no kidding.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of
We're
work.
we're learning. It's a lot of work, but we're learning. We did the paint job. It's not, it looks good, but
It looks
it's
great.
it's
I'm
not.
old. My eyes aren't so good. But it looks wonderful.
Yeah, it's not professional, 100% professional, but it's a good job.
Now, did you find these tractors together, or did you have to go scrounging?
No, we bought one in Vermont, southern Vermont, and bought the other one in Ohio.
Come on.
Yeah.
How would you find a John Deere 435 in Ohio?
On the internet.
See that?
On the internet. And then the one we have at home, we bought that in Pennsylvania.
You had to go get it?
Oh, yeah.
We got to go get all of them.
Yeah, you have to go get them.
So it's teamwork all the way.
Yes, it is.
Had you ever owned a John Deere before these tractors?
No, these are the only John Deeres we've ever owned.
Are you farmers, or do
No,
Retired.
we're retired.
you live right in the village, or where do you live?
No, we live outside of the village. We live a mile outside of the village heading towards Canada.
What road?
It's County Route 52. It used to be 374.
I know the road very
Yeah,
well.
going right down to
That's
the
why
border.
I'm asking you. A
Yeah,
lot of
going-
people who watch this show are from Chateaugay, and they know where you
Yeah, well, I run a small welding shop at our place in Chateaugay. A little sign up there when you go by the road, you can't help but see it. It's on the left, going to the
Says-
border.
Pete's puts it together.
Well, all it says, it's like an arrow, and
Oh.
a yellow arrow. It's John Deere color, and it points into our barn.
That's-
Yeah, and that's where we do the welding.
Now, what kind of shape were these tractors in when you got them?
Well, her tractor, which is the first one there, it wasn't in bad shape. It was actually in good shape. That came from Ohio, but it needed a new engine. The engine was bad, so we had a place down in Valleyfield rebuild the engine.
Oh, rebuild that engine.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
and mine seems to have a good engine in it, so I didn't have to rebuild that, but we had to paint them.
And your engine was still running good. I wonder
Oh,
if it-
mine was still running good. I got it from a farmer down in southern Vermont. He seemed to be a pretty honest guy. He told me he did a lot of work on it, put a lot of money into the engine, and it seems to be perfect. You
So
know.
did you both get them both at about the same time, or?
No, I bought mine 2 years before she got hers. She got the
My
original. She got the original one that we have at home, which is all apart. But she got that one down in Pennsylvania, and that was her first one. But it needed a new engine, so we had a place in Brainerdville that builds engines.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's the one I want to drive because I
and
went
we-
109 feet further than any man that day.
Did you really? Come on.
yeah.
Did you really?
Now
was
she
a-
had a
Did you
she had-
scream real loud and
I
say,
did.
yes?
She had the best pull that any tractor puller could ever hope to have.
It was
Just
beautiful.
happened to have
She just happened to have it. There were 3 tractors that made a full pull, and she was one of them. And when they had to pull off, one of them pulled 92 feet, the other one pulled 96, and she went the whole way, 250. People were clapping and jumping up and down. It was exciting.
Is that a good feeling?
Oh, it was fantastic that day.
It'll never happen again.
But why did it happen that day?
Because
Don't-
that was my second time driving, I think. Wasn't
Don't
it?
know.
Yeah,
It's
just a lot.
you know, if you happen to be on the track, on the right place on the track for your tractor, and nobody knows that, you're taking a chance. You just happen to be in the right place. You got your tires right. You got everything right.
And all the planets right
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
to each other.
And her tractor just kept right on going. I couldn't believe it.
Energizer Bunny there.
Yeah, it was
lady?
fun.
You know, when you get down to the end, they make you stop. I told her, I said, you shouldn't have stopped. You should have just kept right on.
Well, yeah, just
pulled it right
go
back.
home to Chateaugay.
Well, she could have pulled it right back to him.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
you
it
know,
was.
there's
It
so
was.
there's so many. I don't know all the physics involved, but there's an awful lot of friction. That's the whole idea.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to, as a youngster, and we've talked a lot about history and old tractors, and they're pretty old tractors, but I used to love, as a young kid, to go to the fairs and watch the horse pulls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we enjoy the horse pulls.
It's really fun. But
Yeah.
then to see the machines and the old antique machines, and
Yeah, we got into the tractors, and for us, tractors are the way to go.
well, that's what tractors are made for.
Sure.
Aren't you afraid of hurting these old tractors?
No, you can't hurt them.
Hopefully.
I mean, just, you're just pulling. That's what they're made for. And we don't, we're easy on them. We're easy on them.
So how does just explain for people who've never watched a tractor pull, how does it work? What happens at a tractor
Well,
pull?
All it is you hook onto that boat, which is a transfer sled, and as you're pulling, the weight keeps going up further and further and putting more weight onto the ground,
Is that how it
onto
works?
the pad.
Yeah.
And it's just whatever tractor can pull the furthest, and that's
And the tractors compete in different weight classes.
different weight
Right.
classes. Yeah, we're in a 4,000-pound class.
So is that about what one of your tractors weighs? About 2 tons?
Well, they weigh in the neighborhood of 3,900.
That puts you in the class, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have to be maximum weight is 4,100 with the driver. If you go
Oh, too
over
late.
4,100,
It'd be over with me. You'd have to get a light jockey, lighter jockey than
You're a
me.
lighter jockey, yeah.
But
Yeah.
isn't that so interesting that I find it so fascinating that tractor should pull that much on that day, and like you said, you could practice and practice and practice and never do that again.
Yeah, she'll never do that again. It'll never happen again. I've never seen it happen. It was the first time, and just had a good day, and the women
You
there.
just didn't know enough to back
Oh,
up.
that's right. I wasn't
and
going
the
to back
la-
off
and the
either.
ladies there were just clapping and jumping up and down because she was the only lady puller that day.
I think you ought to run
They
for
love
president. Don't you?
They love it.
No, thank you.
Well, you know what? It's an awful lot of fun to have you up here today. I know when you came up here for this tractor show, you didn't dream you were going to get your photograph of your tractors taken by OZZIE SWEET, who is the most
we
famous photographer in the world for sports figures, all the great sports figures of all time.
didn't. Oh, I didn't know that.
Over 1,700 covers on famous magazines like Sport Magazine and True and Saturday Evening Post and all the rest. The guy's been taking famous photographs of people and things and events since 1942, and we're pleased to have him up here today. And what he does is take pictures of tractors for calendars now, and they're wondering, haven't you ever seen calendars with
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we
tractors
watch
on?
it.
Yeah, but
Next
we
time
never,
you see one, look whose name
we
is down in the
never
corner.
we never assumed that they'd be
Right.
taking pictures for our tractors.
Anybody that can pull as good as this lady can deserves to have her picture on a calendar
Oh, yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah,
sometime.
but Sunday
oh, isn't that
I'm gonna
beautiful?
I'm gonna straighten things out Sunday.
Are you really?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
straighten it right out. I'm gonna do number 1. She could be number 2 or
Oh, it's your turn.
And it's why
My
it's
turn.
green.
To show you how precise and perfect he wants his pictures to be, he was waiting until the cloud up there got in exactly the right place.
3. Wow.
Isn't every picture has
something.
to be perfect, even when it's a couple of those great old John Deere tractors.
Yeah.
So that's all part of the fun here this weekend. Huh?
Oh yeah, and it should be a lot of fun. There should be a lot of good things
How many
here.
shows do you do in the course of a summer? Quite a few.
No, we try to hit all the tractor pulls that our club has, but we might do 2 or 3 shows.
Maybe you should name the club.
Yeah, you got a club down there in
Yeah.
Chateaugay? That's wonderful.
We
Talk
should
about
name
it.
it.
Sure. What's
our
in it?
club?
You can't remember either. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so don't worry about that.
That's awful.
That's perfectly all
You got
right.
it in your wallet.
I do that kind of thing all the time. Well, we're delighted to have you up here. It's only
Look in the wallet.
it's only about an hour's drive up here, right? It's
Yeah.
Helen, right, Helen?
Yes,
Yeah.
just about an hour.
Just about an hour's drive, and it's a nice.
It's the River Valley Antique Tractor and Engine Club.
That's
Yeah.
why I write. You'd be amazed at things I write in my wallet. Like,
Well, you know,
what's your name? Gordy Little. I see that right.
I could always remember if I didn't have to.
Isn't that the way when you're
It's
under
when,
pressure?
when you have to.
Under
Oh.
pressure, right when that
Yeah.
final exam comes, you draw a mental blank and boom. Yeah.
No, we've been with the River Valley probably 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah.
Nice little
It's
club.
a lot of fun.
A lot of
I'm
fun.
sure a lot of people who view this program, it's the title of the program is Our Little Corner, and it's shown down in your neck of the woods on your local cable system
Oh, we're off
from
the
time
walls
to
for that.
time. A lot of people didn't know there were tractor clubs, antique tractor clubs. Well,
Oh,
that's
no.
pretty neat, huh?
Oh yeah,
We
it's
love
neat.
it. I like it.
Something to do, and the people you meet, as I said to Ozzie when we interviewed him a while ago, the people you meet is what makes it all worthwhile.
Well,
Nice people.
You know, that's why we started. That's what got us into it, is the type of people that you meet. They have the same interests as we do. They like tractors, and most people that like tractors like people. So, you know, they're very friendly.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I'm going camping next week, as I've told people a million times, up on the St. Lawrence River, and we find campers are friendly people.
Oh yeah, I
we
love
walk
camping.
around the campsite and just wave,
Yeah.
and people never saw them before in their lives and wave back. And
We used to do that. We camped a lot, but we have to limit ourselves to, you know, just so many things. So all summer we're into the tractors,
that's great.
and then trying to keep them clean and a little bit of work on them. Not a lot, but it does take some time. I spent probably 4 hours today, you know, washing them up a
Getting them
little
cleaned
bit
up
and getting
and-
them cleaned up.
They look like they just came off the assembly line to me.
Well, that's good.
We made you take a little extra run around the field and get in the gate so we could get a couple of pictures for Ozzie here today. But I want to thank you both for coming and for talking with us.
You're
Well,
welcome.
thank you.
We
You guys-
appreciate it.
You guys have a wonderful weekend
Thank
here, will you?
Hopefully
You have a
I'll beat
wonderful
them.
weekend also.
Yeah, I'll hear you scream all the way from my house in Morrisonville down over the hill.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you. Last exposure coming up. I heard him say he was waiting for the cloud.
There should be one of those signs we've all seen. Quiet genius at work
Oh
here.
boy.
See, the way this is featured,
Let's go listen to him.
this comes in and you get the front end of this and it makes a nice effect.
It's beautiful, but I never would have thought of it.
Oh,
You're the man.
Yes, you.
I told you, you're the man.
Well, thank you. But aren't they beautiful?
They're just beautiful.
Don't take them away. Let us just admire them for a few minutes.
Who would guess that that's the tie that binds a husband and wife together?
Yeah.
Our
yeah.
John Deere diesel tractors.
Yes, you know, years ago I used to shoot for the company, and outside of Chicago, west of Chicago, they have one of the great big, huge hangar type things, and they have a turntable, like locomotive turntable,
sure.
because those great big, huge diesels that they make, you know, so that they turn it a little bit, and I'd photograph it.
Get it
and
just the way you wanted it.
Yeah, on the forgotten what they call them, turntables or something. you know. So that's.
So did you get the right effect here today? Did you get the clouds where you wanted
Yeah,
it?
I waited until that cloud was it's past now, but I shot most of them when it was right there. But if you frame that in your mind and crop right at the to the right of the, well, right about at the wheel there, so you see that, and then you just see this wheel interrupts that front wheel there just the tiniest bit. That's all right.
I love it.
And then.
But who would ever do that but you? Nobody else would know how to do that.
But then you feature, but they've done such a wonderful job with it, haven't they?
Yeah.
See, even the little turn thing on the steering wheel is green to match.
I noticed that. The spinners we used to call them, right? The spinners.
Oh yeah. And you remember when we were young fellas, when we had gear shifts here, and
Yes, I do.
yeah, and then you see your hand could slip from the gear shift right over, and you could pat your girlfriend on her knee.
Of course. And I should have known that that's something that you would mention. As a matter of fact, I've modified those gear shift levers on many occasions to make them just the right length. As long as we're telling tales out of school here. Oh gosh.
Is that did you take the temperature of the light? Is that what you did there?
Yep, took the temperature. Yeah.
Explain that to us.
Yeah, how does that work, and
that's
what would be the reason for that?
That's a light meter, and I just take a reading on the. I don't always do it, but sometimes later light I do. You see, it's they have so many of these now, but I've used this for so long, and you just read it. Set it on 100 because that's the speed of the film, and then you see here it's 17, and you get a reading, and then you shoot around that. That's your main exposure, but then you shoot a little
bit either side.
Either side,
yeah.
bracket. You know, no shutter speed changes, but a little bit of bracketing, and that way, you know, what's a few extra sheets of film when you think of all the trouble everybody's gone to, you know?
No trouble for me, no
me.
trouble for them. They're delighted to find out who you are and why you're here today, and it's just a big thrill for all of us that you decided to come to town.
Oh, that was
Are you
nice.
staying here overnight, or you're heading back, or
No,
where are you going tonight?
I'm staying in because I'm going to be shooting here tomorrow.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
because I hope to get about 4, maybe 5 tractors, which would be almost half of it.
Now we're now 22 minutes before 6 in real
Is that
time.
what it is?
Yeah, and they're going to have a parade tonight.
Oh, wow.
They're going to get these tractors out on the road and head all the way down with a police escort
Wow. Isn't
down
that-
the main road to Smithfield Boulevard, right by the mall in downtown in the west end of Plattsburgh, and back again. And if that doesn't create a little bit of a spectacle,
Oh,
I don't know
that'd be
what will.
Wonderful.
Isn't that great?
What'll that be, about 20 miles an hour? Not that fast.
I don't. No, maybe 10.
10
A lot of these
miles, yeah.
tractors didn't go over 10. The old Ford tractors,
Our old John Deere went 12. That was
12,
top.
10 or 12 miles per hour was about it.
What I do now is I go talk to those people, and I give them a caption sheet to fill out, and with a
yes.
stamped addressed envelope. I'll do that.
I
so
love
I won't
it.
hold.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
See you later, Oz. You know, I think our audience gets an idea how much fun we are. It's the first time today Calvin's been 2 feet taller than I am because I'm standing in a hole here. We warned Ozzie not to get involved in it. Yes, he will talk to the people. I'm glad we explained who he was, otherwise they never would have known why he was going to ask them to sign a caption sheet. But isn't it nice that they may have their names immortalized along with their tractors in a calendar? And I want everybody viewing this program to go and check in their attic for some of the old sport magazines, or the old True magazines. I probably got some True magazines somewhere with pictures by OZZIE SWEET. Find out more about this guy and you'll say, hey, I saw that guy on Hometown Cable on our little corner. He's pretty famous, isn't he? I'm glad we came here today, but then we've had some terrific times visiting people and events, and I was watching a program Calvin and I did a few years ago at Bolt Castle again this week, and I was excited all over again because it just happened to be a beautiful sunny day when he and Judy and I went to Bolt Castle up near Alexandria Bay in the Thousand Islands. We've enjoyed doing about 350 of these programs, and if the good Lord is willing and the creek doesn't rise, maybe we'll do 350 more. Your comments are always appreciated. Just call Calvin with the bad stuff and you can compliment me. No, Just let us know what you think, and if you got any ideas, we'd love to hear about it. We're easy to find. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.
We had hoped to get more of what was happening at the Antique Tractor and Gas Engine Show. However, we didn't want to pass up the opportunity to catch OZZIE Sweet at work. So it'll give us quite a few things for next year. We plan on being back for Chapter 2 of the Our Little Corner look at the Antique Gas Engine and Tractor Show. So look for that next year in 2005. In the meantime, I decided to stick around and catch this first ever tractor ride, a tractor parade down Route 22B and then onto Route 3. We'll get it as it leaves the Clinton County Fairgrounds. They are lining up here. We're going to go out to the end of the road and catch them as they leave. It looks like at least one truck has snuck into the parade here. We'll get them as they leave, so it won't be a long look, but it'll be a look at the first ever. Now the moment we've all been waiting for is the escort cars get into position. The one state police car at the front and one behind, one following. A tractor ride from the Clinton County Fairgrounds on Route 22B, just on the edge of beautiful downtown Morrisonville. And it'll be going to Smithfield Boulevard. Turning around at the Ground Round area and then heading back here. So people driving down Route 22B, then Route 3 are about to be in for a surprise. I'm surprised that the police car isn't here to stop traffic. Or is he? Yes, he's behind me and he will be stopping traffic. Let's watch the parade as it comes by. Calvin! Go Blackburn! Not a race. So far the farmhauls outnumber the John Deeres. People have pulled over to watch the parade. Here's the truck. International, I believe. There's McCormick, that's another farmhall. Here's the John Deere. You know him. And there's the missus. Another farmhall. So far, nothing but John Deere and farmhall tractors. There's a cock shot. Still more coming. They all look kind of red, except for that orange one in there. There's a case. Another farm hall. Looks like a cock shot. Not painted. And the farm hall. And friends driving his truck. Yeah, that's a signal for the state police to follow behind. And there you have it, the first ever tractor ride, a tractor parade, leaving the Clinton County Fairgrounds, heading for the mall. So that's the way it was, July 9th, 2004. Our thanks to those of you watching and supporting viewer-supported local television, hometown cable, TV that's worth your support.